Hey friends, happy Friday. Hope you guys are having a wonderful week and your birds have been busily feeding from your feeders because it's so much fun. Um, we have quite the lineup tonight. We will be talking all about owls. So I know you may have come to our owl presentation last month, but I figured it's a good topic to hit on because if you didn't know, owls start the nesting process in February. So I think it's a really good topic to hit on in February because they are beginning to do their nesting. So we're going to talk about owls. We'll talk about what type of owls you can expect to see in our area in Illinois, and we'll talk about some fun facts about owls, and then we'll talk about ways that we can invite them to our areas and or support them. So we will talk about that. That is our big topic tonight, and that was a request from one of our followers. So thank you for requesting such great topics. But before we get into that, I kind of want to just talk about our upcoming events so we get that off the plate right off the bat. So today and tomorrow, we are doing our how-to days for the Great Backyard Bird Count. What is the Great Backyard Bird Count? Well, it's a 4-day global bird count. So how it works is you are going to pick a 15-minute time frame. It could be more than 15 minutes, but at least 15 minutes, one or more days in that 4-day period, and you're going to count the birds that you see. You're going to write it down or record it on either eBird or Merlin, and you're going to share that data with scientists. So what that data does is it kind of gives scientists a snapshot of how birds are faring, and it kind of shows them where they are located. So if they know that birds are moving further north or further south than they are predicted to be, that really helps scientists. It also kind of helps them by knowing the numbers of birds that we are seeing. So lots of good stuff for them, but it's also super, super fun, and it's a great way to learn how to use some of these cool tools such as eBird or Merlin. And it also is a great way to learn your birds. So if you want to learn how to do that, that is what this weekend is for. So come in tomorrow and we will show you how to use eBird and how to use Merlin. We'll show you how to count and ID birds. We'll give you some tips and tricks for that. But the actual Great Backyard Bird Count is the 13th through the 16th. So it's coming up. It's not this week, but it's coming up. So be prepared for it. And that's why we're doing it this week. So you know how to do it and you can prepare for it. And then when the actual days come, you are set and can do it all by yourself. Of course, if you need help or if you would like to participate here at the store, our store is a site on the map, on the Cornell map for the Great Backyard Bird Count. So if you would like to come here and count the birds at our store or our feeders here at the store, you are absolutely more than welcome to. But also coming up this month, we have a presentation called The Secret Love Life of Birds. So that's going to be a fabulous presentation, and that is on February 14th, Valentine's Day. So it's going to be a perfect start off for your Valentine's Day with your partner. You can bring your lovebird with and have a fun presentation learning about the love life of birds, and then you're free to do your rest of your date night or whatever you're doing that day. But definitely come and participate in that. I recommend to call the store to reserve your seat for that. In February, February 20th is our last avian artistry class. That is the makeup class from January where we had to cancel because of the extreme cold. So the new class is scheduled for February 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. It's at Dottie's Art Studio in Plainfield, and that's the acrylics class. So again, it's the last class that we have so far, that we have planned this far. Hopefully I can work with Dottie and create something else that maybe we can do coming up for the summer months as well. And then the very last thing that we have planned on our calendar for February is our meet and greet with the hedgehogs. So that is with Incredible Bats, and they're bringing their animal ambassadors, the hedgehogs, back here at the store. They're super fun. You'll be able to hold them and touch them and learn all about hedgehogs. It's a free event. You don't have to call to make a reservation to come. All you just are coming and kind of doing a meet and greet. Last time we had quite the crowd come, so I highly recommend, if you are really hard set on it, come early and be sure that you are here for when they arrive, and then you can kind of get in line early, if you will. But that starts at 12:30 and it ends at 2:30. Remember, we're only open from noon to 4 on Sundays, so plan accordingly, all right? So that is what is going on for the month of February for us. But we have more things coming up and planned for March, so stay tuned for all of that fun details. Let's get into the nitty-gritty about the owls, because I think it's such a fun topic. And again, like I mentioned, February is really the start of nesting seasons for some of our big raptors, like owls. So owls this month are all starting the nesting process, which makes it so much fun. And I think it's a great topic to start on because, owls are really quite cool, and they kind of have this back history that isn't so great. Sometimes they have this mysterious or ominous, kind of thought. People have that thought for them, but they are so magnificent and cool. They have so much adaptations for their abilities to hunt. They are just built amazingly, and they have such cool features. So I figured we'd talk about that today. So I want to start first off by talking about some of those cool adaptations that they have and their cool physical characteristics. For example, their eyes. So all owls have eyes located on the front of their heads versus on the side. So some of our other favorite birds, such as our songbirds, often have their eyes actually located on the sides of their heads, but being on the front, kind of like humans, it matches their level of depth perception. So like with humans, we have our eyes set in the front, and that gives us that depth perception. So that's the same with owls. They have that same kind of ability. Now, all owls have the capability to see during the day. So their pupils just don't get small like ours. So they sometimes have to squint in high light. Or close their eyes kind of partially. They kind of look sleepy sometimes, but they don't. They're not sleeping. They're not just like half awake. They just cannot. They need to lower the light level to be able to see really well. So they sometimes look like they're squinting and can't, or are just waking up, but they actually can see perfectly fine. Like 100% vision, even squinty eyes. So that's pretty amazing, isn't it? But they do have the capability to see perfectly fine in night as well. So they just have a high number of rod cells in their eyes that make them capable to see in night vision perfectly fine in low or no light settings. So pretty amazing. Now, if you've ever seen pictures of owls, and we'll show you a couple tonight, but their eye color varies. Incredible. They sometimes have black or dark eyes. Sometimes they have orange eyes. Sometimes they have yellow eyes. But guess what? Did you know that eye color can actually kind of indicate what type of hunting that they do? For example, owls that hunt during the night, or nocturnal hunting, is often associated with owls that have dark or black eyes. Isn't that so cool? Versus, say, a yellow-eyed owl often is associated with an owl that is a diurnal hunter, meaning they can hunt during the day, or at least at dusk. So like, for example, great horned owls have those yellow eyes. So that's just a really cool feature, I think, that of them. And of course, owls have that iconic eyes, and they are actually they are set in sockets. They cannot physically move their eyes around like I can. I can move my eyes from left to right, all around to see around. Owls can't do that. They're fixed in their socket. So that's why they have the capability to actually turn their heads 270 degrees, basically be able to look behind them, because they cannot move their eyes. So if they want to see what's over there, they have to physically move their head to look at that. It's a pretty cool feature from owls. Owls' ears are equally as awesome and probably more utilized by owls than even their eyes. Their hearing really are another set of eyes to them. But did you know that owls' ears are actually located asymmetrically on their head? So even though one is higher than the other, they can actually hear it. It allows them to kind of get a depth perception with sound. It's pretty amazing. So if they're hearing the same sound but at different heights, it gives them that kind of audio depth perception. It's pretty amazing. And oftentimes these owls have what looks like ears that are actually just tufts of feathers on their heads. And those tufts of feathers are not ears at all. They're actually just tufts of feathers that are often used for camouflage. So that's pretty cool too. Another really cool characteristic of owls that is actually iconic to their family species is this facial disc that they have. So most notably, I think, of the birds that have a facial disc, I mean, all of them have them, but one of the more famous are the barn owls, right? This heart-shaped facial disc that they have, it actually pushes sound to their ears. That is what it's for. It's actually pretty amazing that it allows them to hear 10 times greater the sound because of that facial disc pushing the sound to their ears. It's pretty amazing. And again, they have unique flight because they are completely silent flyers. Their feathers are especially velvety and thick for absorbing sound. And that feathers, even on their legs, are designed to make them have silent flight all around. Silent flight has two purposes. One, obviously, it allows them to kind of sneak up on their prey, but also it allows them to fly in silence while being able to still hear that prey while they're moving. So it's pretty incredible that they have this capability to see and hear and fly silently. They are built to be nocturnal hunters. So it's pretty amazing how they were built. Owls in general swallow their food whole. All right, they're not, sometimes larger prey is kind of torn into smaller pieces that they then will take down whole. They're not kind of ripping pieces of flesh and things out, kind of like your raptors or your eagles will. They literally eat it whole. Then they have this really cool digestive process. And I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of how that works, but essentially that digestion process will absorb all the nutrients, and then they eject out the non-edible parts, such as bones and fur and teeth and things like that. And that actually comes to the form of what is called an owl pellet. So sometimes maybe you in school or at a nature center, you got the awesome experience of dissecting an owl pellet before. Once upon a time, when I was a kid, and I went to the Arboretum in Lisle, and my class got to dissect owl pellets, and I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world. And to this day, I still am just amazed at owl pellets, even though it essentially is just kind of like ejection vomit, if you will, of an owl, but it still is so cool being able to see all those little parts and things in there. But that is literally just the undigestible parts that they can't digest, so that they expel it from their body. And usually that that expellation, that ejection of that pellet is only a couple hours after, probably like, 13 hours after they actually eat. So they eat and then that happens. So if you're happen to see an owl eating and you're in the area, keep an eye out for pellets on the ground because that'll be shortly after. We have quite a few owls. We have, let me see here, how many owls we have year round here in Illinois in our area. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 owls that stay here all year in Illinois. And then we have 2 that visit us only in winter. Let's get to it, okay? Let's talk about them. First one is our barn owl. So barn owls are pretty awesome. They are actually one of the most widespread owls in all of the continent, right? Like all of the area. Oh, how big are the pellets? I see that question here. So the question is, how big are their pellets? Well, it really depends on the size of the bird because different birds, as we'll talk about, are going to be different sizes and they consume different things in their diet. So let's say the barn owl or a barred owl. I actually have a snowy owl pellet here at the store that Who Haven gave me when they had the snowy owl here. So next time you're in, I can show it to you, but I would say it's about this big for the snowy owl pellet. Only a couple inches long. So the smaller the owl and the smaller the prey, the smaller the pellet's going to be. Does that make sense? Versus the larger the bird, the larger the prey, the larger the pellet will have. All right, good question. I like that question. So back to barn owls. They are pretty notorious. They are actually the most widespread spread of all birds in any continent ever. That's according to Cornell, which I think is pretty amazing. But even though they are found literally anywhere pretty much, except a few island groups and in Antarctica, you can find them anywhere, they are still on the endangered list. And that's mainly due to habitat loss and nesting site location loss. So habitat is everything to these birds. So if that's one thing we take away today, make sure we keep habitat because owls are natural predators for pest control like your mice. They need the habitat. So think about that. But they are medium-sized owls, so often probably associated with the size of a crow. And they eat mostly rodents, small mammals, lizards, even some birds, like your small songbirds, if they will. But they are pretty notorious. They have a pretty cool call. Not going to play it here today, but you can, if you go on to Cornell and search the barn owl or any of these owls, you can actually hear their calls, and it's pretty cool. Pretty an odd call if you ask me. The second owl that is very notorious here in our area is the barred owl. And we have had a barred owl here at the store a couple times thanks to Wings and Talons. They are absolutely stunning. Notice those dark eyes similar to our barn owl, which means that they are built more for nocturnal hunting. Remember, dark eyes are associated with nocturnal hunters, so think about that. But they can be seen during the day. Remember, just because they're nocturnal hunters does not mean that they can't be seen or out during the day. They are perfectly capable of seeing, flying, being awake during the day as well. Okay? So these barred owls are one of the larger owl species that we have here in Illinois. They're probably between the size of a crow and probably maybe a goose even. They're pretty big. They can even weigh up to 2 pounds. But think about this. In comparison to, say, great horned owl, this bird is mostly made out of feathers. So they may look even a little bit larger than a great horned owl or about the same size, but this guy is actually weighs nothing. He's mostly feathers. So it's a pretty amazing how they are. This owl has a very unique call. This is their notorious "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" Very common, very well-known call. So if you've never heard it before, again, I recommend you go on Cornell and listen to the call. It's pretty amazing. If you've ever heard this at night near your area, you know you have barred owl in your area. They eat mostly rodents, snakes, lizards, rabbits, things like that. Next guy is these small two cuties are some of our smaller owls, but equally as prevalent in our Illinois area, even Will County. Probably anywhere where you find trees, you're going to find a screech owl. So these guys are pint-sized owls weighing between 4 to 6 ounces. So probably about the size of maybe a robin. But they do come in two different cool colors, as you see here in this picture. Sometimes they have a reddish tone. Sometimes they have more of a grayish tone. So kind of a really cool, very small owl. Due to their size, they do often hide a lot because they are prey to other birds, including other larger owls. So it's pretty well known that they are often seen in a hole or hiding in a tree somewhere. Their diet is mostly small rodents, insects, earthworms, small lizards, frogs. They'll even eat some bats if if they can catch them. But they are mostly the smaller animals that they're going after. All right, that's the eastern screech. The next one is our iconic great horned owl. See those eyes, those yellow eyes, indicating that diurnal hunting, meaning again they can hunt during the day or at night. They are set up suited for either. Now, great horned owls is the largest owl species in our area. So they are one of the top predators in their habitat, and they are capable of taking down large prey, meaning like larger mammals, even the size of a skunk. So even some larger raptors they can take down, like hawks and things like that. These guys weigh between 2 to 5.5 ounce or pounds, so they are a pretty big bird and not made up of feathers like our barred owls. Let's show up that barred owl again. Right, so they kind of look about the same size, but the barred owl is all feathers. This guy is a meaty man. All right, he weighs a lot more, and they can be found literally almost anywhere, while often found in forested areas, kind of near grasslands or an open field area. They can be found in cities, suburbs, parks, you name it, they probably can be found there. They have a pretty big habitat by now. And historically, this is the bird most people think of when you talk about an owl or a hoot owl. They make that hoot hoot sound a lot. That's their main call. So great owl. If you are lucky enough, maybe you will get to hear them at night one of these nights. I've been lucky enough to hear one of these great horned owls on top of my house almost every winter. They come back in a pair, and I can hear them calling from my roof to another roof. It's a lot of fun, and I can hear them really clear as day, even in my basement, even with a TV on. So they're a nice loud bird, and it's a really, really fun to hear them because you know that you have a nice, good habitat for them. This little cutie, I just love his face. His eyes are just so cute in this photo. This is a northern saw-whet owl. So northern saw-whet owls are found mostly in northern Illinois, but their range is growing. And because they live such secretive lives, scientists are actually learning more that they are more prevalent than once usually thought or originally thought. So they actually could very well be here in Will County, and they just don't make their presence known as prevalent as other owls. Again, because they're a small little bird. This is probably the smallest pint-sized bird that is in our area. They weigh between 2 to 5 ounces. And they're pretty small, so they're low on the totem pole when it comes to predation. So they also live very secretive lives, kind of similar to our eastern screech owls. But they are becoming more camouflaged, and they do have a pretty cool call that I would highly recommend checking out on Cornell if you get the chance. It kind of sounds like a saw being sharpened. So that's kind of how they got their name, the saw-whet owl. because it sounds like a saw being sharpened on a wetting stone. So kind of a cool bird. Really cute. Go check them out. They're really, really cute. And then this is the short-eared owl. Our last bird that is always found here in Illinois. You can find them all year round. They have a pretty cool diet. They have mostly rodents, but they will eat other small animals and birds, and they're not very local or vocal. They weigh anywhere between 7 ounces to a pound, so they're a decent sized bird, probably a mid-size owl. And what is kind of cool about this bird is it's a prairie bird. So oftentimes you see them on the ground or very low, like on a tree branch low to the ground. And they're often hunting very low, flying right across the ground. Very cool. Now, like the name implies, I don't know if we can even see in this photo, but right here are these 2 little tufts of feathers. That's what gives it its name, the short-eared owl. Now, remember, these tufts of feathers, ears that they call them, are not ears at all. They are literally just used for camouflage and maybe signaling to other owls and making communication that way. But again, just because they have short ears doesn't mean that those are ears at all. Again, these birds have asymmetrical ears, and they're often found right on the sides of the head. So one will likely be up here, and the other one would be down here. So they're actually on either side of that facial disc. Remember we talked about that iconic facial disc that owls have, and their ears are located on either side of there, not on the tops of their heads. All right, so it's something to consider. This is another all year round owl that you can find, but again, winter is the best time to find many of these owls, including the short-eared owl, right? Because less trees, it makes it more visible to be found. Now, we do have 2 other owls that can be found in our area, but these owls can only be found in our area during winter. So we're coming up on the short end of winter where you have just a little bit more chance to possibly see these owls in our area. Let's talk about them. The first one is our long-eared owl. So comparatively to our short-eared owl, you can tell where it gets its name, those long ears on the top of its head. Again, these are not ears at all. These are just tufts of feathers that are used for camouflage. So not ears at all. Again, their ears are located on the sides of their heads, right where that facial disc that they have is going to funnel in that sound to make it 10 times greater. So pretty cool. These guys, again, are only found in our area in winter. They are a similar size to our short-eared owl, so you're talking 7 ounces to like a pound. They eat mostly rodents and small animals. But the cool thing about them is if you are lucky enough to find one in the woods, because they're often found in more wooded areas, if you find one, you are likely to find a whole bunch because they tend to roost together in trees in winter in Illinois. So if you ever find one, you know that you're in luck because you're probably going to find more than just one. So pretty cool. These 2 owls, the long-eared owl and the short-eared owl, have recently been put on the endangered species list in Illinois due to habitat loss. So if you can help them out by providing habitat or supporting the habitat that they need, you're going to be able to get these guys back more in population. And then our last one, but certainly not our least, is our snowy owl. Now, snowy owls are found here only in winter, but it's not regular. So sometimes they come, we call this eruptive. So snowy owls come here on an eruptive cycle, meaning that some years they are here in abundance and some winters they are not. And that likely has to do with prey. Just like other songbirds, like our winter finch forecast. So why we have purple finches and pine siskins and red-breasted nuthatches down here in Illinois in winter is because it's an eruption year, meaning the boreal forest where they're from, where they spend their springs and summers, did not produce enough food, the cone seeds, to support those local birds. So those birds move down south, they migrate to here, Illinois, and other northern, southern areas, and they stay here in the winter because we are going to have more food than they would up in their home up far north. Same with snowy owls. Snowy owls are eruptive, likely due to their main food prey, lemmings, on the tundra. Sometimes they have dips and lows in their food source, and as a result, they tend to move down south. Now, I'm not sure if this year is a snowy owl eruption year. I haven't really heard a lot of sightings of them, but I know last year sure was. In Will County, there's typically at least one sighting a winter of a snowy owl in our area. So it's not totally uncommon to see them, but it's not totally rare, if you will. Okay? This owl is, in fact, the largest North American owl. Okay? They are, and that's by weight. They weigh between 3.5 and 6.5 pounds. So it's a pretty big bird. Do you remember when the snowy owl was here at the store when we had Hoo Haven here last year? It was pretty incredible. It was a very big bird. I was actually taken aback at the size of that bird. It was pretty big. Very cool. Now, the markings on this bird can kind of indicate sex. And while owls in general are very hard to distinguish male and female, usually you have to see them kind of next to each other because the female is typically usually a little larger or a little bigger in size than the males. With snowy owls, sometimes you can tell if it's a male or female simply by its markings. So if it's a female, these dark markings, these dark markings on this body are going to be greater, more dense if it's a female. If it's a male, it's actually lighter. And the males actually get paler in color as they get older. So that's kind of cool. If you see a really all white one, likely a male. If you see one with a lot more of these dark markings, it's likely a female. So that's kind of cool too. They are active day or night, and they are likely usually found on the ground, and they nest on the ground, which is pretty unusual for owls because whether the owl is nesting in a cavity in a tree or making a cup nest in the tree, it's usually in a tree. These owls are nesting in trees, not the snowy owl. And can you guess why? Well, on the tundra, there are no trees, or very few at least. So these birds have adapted to lay eggs on the ground and raise their young there, and they're mostly on the ground anyway. Now, the other cool thing about them is because of their yellow eyes, you can tell that they are a diurnal bird. So they are hunting day or night. Now, they are very active during the day, and if you couldn't guess why, it's because the tundra has almost no nighttime during the summer. So they are completely used to hunting, fully capable during the day, which is pretty unique and fabulous for those owls. If you've ever seen any owls in the wild or here at the store, let us know in the comments. I would love to hear what owl you have seen in the wild or what owl you have seen here at the store. I want to know what's your favorite owl. I want to learn something or want to hear from you on what's something that you have heard. Yeah, I hear you, Patricia. She says she hears owls talking to each other around 11 p.m. At times, and we think that they are in the evergreen trees. So eerily spooky and neat sound. I agree. They sometimes can sound very weird. So absolutely agree with that comment. All right. So now that we know what type of owls are in our areas, I thought it would be a good time now to talk about ways that we can attract owls to our area or how we can support them. Now, I think it's super important when we're attracting owls to think about this, because I truly believe that because most of our owls are already on the decline and many of them are even on endangered species list already, it is really important to think about your habitat and the habitat you're going to draw owls to if you really want to attract them. I really believe that we need to do the right thing and know that if your area is unsafe, that location is unsafe, that is really unethical and kind of not morally right to try to attract them. Now, no matter how much you want and love to have an owl in your area, sometimes it's worth noting that not every area is going to be the good location to have owls in. Okay? Major threats that owls have to face are rodenticide use, pesticide use, and high-speed roadways. So when you're thinking about your area, do you know if your area is free of pesticides? Do you know that if your neighbors do or don't use rodenticides? And do you live by a very high-speed highway or a roadway that it has a lot of high-speed traffic on it? If your answer is yes, I understand that we want owls, but there are other ways to support them. Let's talk about that before we talk about if your area is okay, okay? So if your area is not okay, things that we can consider is expanding your love for owls outside of your backyard. Go to the preserves. Our Will County preserves are so great for seeing owls. And winter is the best time to see this action. So go outside and go looking for owls. When you are out and about looking for owls and you see one, it's important to have respect for owls in the wild and keep at a distance. Okay, that is what binoculars are for. All right. Nesting owls actually can be very territorial and can come at you. And you don't want those talons coming at you full speed. And honestly, it's just not healthy for those birds either to be in close proximity around people. Keep them safe. Not everyone can do wildlife, and I understand that some people just don't respect it. But let's do our part. We can only control ourselves. Do the right thing and just stay at a distance and give them space. And you're going to do the best thing, and they'll keep the owls in the area because they're going to feel safe. They're going to respect the distance between you that you give them, and they will keep coming into that area. Always keep your flashlight off at night when you're looking for owls, and don't use flash photography because that can actually may harm the owls, especially their eyes with those flashes. And be an owl advocate because honestly, owls need advocates. Dead trees are a major need for them, and the damages of rodenticides and pesticides really harm them. So if we could advocate for keeping natural spaces natural, and for the importance of planting native to support the ecosystem, because protecting owls is great, but protecting even the mice that they eat is just equally as important. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Remember, circle of life. We need all of it to work together to support these awesome birds. Okay, now let's talk. Let's say your area is okay. Maybe no one around you is using rodenticides. You've advocated for a pesticide-free neighborhood, and you don't live near a high-speed roadway. Let's say that's the case for you. Awesome. Let's build a owl habitat. First off, let's support owls by planting native. Okay, because native plants are supporting other native insects and mammals and songbirds and owls, and goes all the way up the food chain. Now, natural native plants also are supporting nesting sites, roosting sites, right? So they're providing food and shelter for not only just the owl, but the prey that they rely on. So supporting native and planting native is super, super important. Second part you want to do is you want to welcome those critters, those small rodents, all right? So creating those brush piles in the back of your property away from your house, that healthy prey population is needed to support a healthy owl, okay? So remember, brush pile is natural items. We're not talking garbage pile, right? So we're talking those sticks and tree limbs that have maybe fallen in your yard. Collect them and place them in the back of your yard so you're not inviting them into your home, but you're inviting them into your your backyard habitat, your backyard refuge for the owls. Okay, and then number 3 would be turning off lights, because especially light pollution is really a big thing, and that those porch lights and the excessive exterior lighting can actually confuse nocturnal owls as they hunt. So keep your exterior lights off or dimmed for part of the night, and it increases the odds of having an owl hunt in your yard, especially in the evening. And number 4 is a big one, is put out nesting boxes. All right, so this is actually a nesting box for a screech owl. Those cute little ones that we saw that were in that hole. This is a perfect box for a screech owl or an American kestrel. So this box would be perfect for those birds. So inside, as you can see, it's a very large box. And inside, let's see, there we go. There's wood chips. And this wood chips is like a substrate that you put in the bottom of your box, so that that's where the owl will lay eggs and raise their young in it. Now, here at the store, we have these screech owl kestrel boxes here probably all the time, all year round. But we can order special boxes, such as a barn owl box, a barred owl box, and a northern saw-whet owl box. Those boxes are special order. We can talk about the cost on that if you come in or call. But the idea is that you want to place this box 8 to 20 feet high from the ground, depending on your species of bird that you're trying to attract. All right, so something you can do, that is an option. And February is a great time to do that, because by the end of February, even early March, many owls will have eggs laid. So if you are really hoping for owls or nesting owls in your area this year, now is the time to put it up, okay? Because they are starting to look, if not looking already. It's important to be patient, because sometimes an owl friendly habitat doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I know many of you are awesome and have the most wonderful habitats for your local wildlife, but not everyone has that case in their backyard or their front yard or their neighborhood. So know that if you're trying to produce this habitat for owls, it's okay if it takes some time. It can, and it usually does take time for owls to become accustomed to a new territory. So be patient, it's important. All right? But it's a really cool thing, and I think it's worth noting that the WBU barred owl nest box, if you didn't see my shared post this morning, they cleaned it out recently, like this week, earlier this week, and Mama Owl has already come, like the day after they kind of cleaned it all up and added new substrate in there. The Mama Owl came that next night and started like checking out the box. And in the background of like the camera view, they saw like the male, so Papa Owl was also right there. So I'm telling you, in these next couple days, we might start seeing the owl cam from WBU in Indianapolis is going to probably be turning on that live stream. So if you've never seen this owl cam, it's a live stream that you can watch 24/7, but they will stream inside the box and the view from the outside of the box, and hopefully we will have another beautiful, lucky clutch that will be laid soon, and we'll have a new babies to watch. They are just the cutest. Little owlets are just so cute. They are so fluffy and big-eyed and just beautiful. So super, super cute. That barred owl cam is made in partnership between Wild Birds Unlimited and the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. So really cool. We use it for science, but it's also really cool to watch and kind of grow. Do you remember when last year with Shadow and Jackie, those famous bald eagles from and we watched them raise their young from eggs all the way to fledging? It's just like I felt like an awesome auntie, and I was rooting for them and crying with them when times were rough, and but ecstatic for them when the young finally fledged and kind of made it off into their own world as their young adults. The same thing with these owls. It's just so fascinating to watch them lay the eggs, those eggs hatch, watching them rear these young all the way until they fledge. It's just something super special. And if you too want to have something like that, and maybe it's not necessarily an owl box next cam that you're going to put out there, but we do have at the store bluebird nest boxes that you can change the port on, so we can make it not just be a bluebird nest box but other bird nest boxes, and that is a nest cam box. So it has the built-in camera, it has the solar panels already there for you, and you can watch some songbirds in your own backyard build a nest, rear the young, and you get that exclusive content right to your phone or smart device. Really cool experience if you've never done it before. Highly recommend it. It's going to be such a great spring. So highly recommend it. All right. Do you guys have? Yes, me too, Kathleen. Love owls, even from a distance. Now, right before we leave here, I want to quickly show you some other cool owl things that you can do to support your local owls, is just by being an owl fan, right? So here at the store, we have a wide variety of items that are owl themed, including some of our greetings. Look at this cute owl card. I just love that. But some of these owl cards are just some of examples of the cool owl things that we have. We have owl mugs. We even have owl kids toys, right? We have the Audubon birds. These guys make the noises, right? The board books are a little owl. We even have some cool adult things like owl, this is an owl field guide just on owls of North America. So if you want something that's laminated, that's easy to put in your backpack or a little purse or even your binocular case, something like this is perfect to just take with you when you're on the lookout for owls in winter. Keychain. This is actually a wristlet keychain for your keys, and it's owl printed, so I think those are pretty cool. Our owl buzzy towels are pretty awesome. This one is fabulous. So this is a double-sided one. These towels are made out of plastic, so they're super sustainable, and they're double-sided, super absorbent. Like, my husband loves these towels. But the front is really awesome. It has a barn owl, a barred owl, and a great horned owl. And the back has just a print of random owls on it. Super cool. We also even have bird food that is owl themed. So if you are an owl lover and want to share your love of owls with other family and friends, we are the spot that has it all. So definitely come and check it out. Don't forget, our bird food sale is going on right now. So everyone saves 15% off of all of our bird food products in store or online. If you are a Daily Savings Club member, you get an extra 5% on all of our bird food pricing, sale pricing. And your sale goes extended. So not only does it go to the 15th like everyone, but the DSC members get the sale all month long. So it really pays to be a Daily Savings Club member when you shop with us, because we really give you some really great deals. So if you're not DSC, easy to join. You can join online or you can join in store. It's $25 for the year, but it includes so many great benefits, including monthly specials, monthly promotions. You get free goodies, so many good things with being a Daily Savings Club member. Don't forget, Great Backyard Bird Count is coming up. If you want to know how to participate, come tomorrow. All day long, we're talking on how you can do that. We'll give you the lowdown on how to do that. But if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will come back and answer them all this evening. All right, guys, you have a great Friday. Hopefully I see you this weekend. And if not, I'm sure I'll see you during the week. We'll see you. Bye now.